Hey y'all, welcome back to another brand new episode of the Watch Us Thrive podcast. This is your girl Leanne, podcaster, DV advocate, speaker, and I am so excited to have another beautiful conversation with a brand new guest of the show, Demetria Winters. She is a mental health advocate, author, entrepreneur, nurse, and veteran. I mean, she does all the things. Thank you for your service. As a survivor of childhood trauma and diagnosed with major depression, she set out to find a way to affect change in mental health and alleviate stigma in the Black community. Focusing on Black women like herself, she seeks to provide education and support by doing workshops and being involved in political, economic, and clinical forums. That led to her founding Black Butterfly Queens Life Coaching for Black women seeking to overcome their mental and emotional challenges and finding their purpose. Demetria helps these Black women devise self-care plans that include mindset training, conflict resolution, and personal development. Loving to write as part of her own self-care, she decided to take that love to a new level by becoming an author of not one, but two book collaborations, Wake Up Winning No Matter What Volume 2, Losing Is Not an Option, and the devotional book/workbook bundle, Step Into Your Power. I mean, she's a fucking powerhouse, y'all, and I'm so excited to have her here to share her story. Demetria, thank you so much for being here today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's about time that we have people like you that are opening up forums for people like us because our voices were basically kind of choked out of. I feel like somebody had a chokehold around my neck. And now, what?
Yes, she is singing. She is helping people. She is bringing together a community, especially us Black and Brown people, right? When it comes to the whole stigma around mental health and generational trauma, that's something I feel like in this day and age now, it's a lot more normalized with us having these conversations, but it's not something that my parents dealt with growing up. I'm sure your parents didn't either. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about who you were before you have blossomed into this powerful woman that you are. So take my audience on a journey of what was life like for you before, what were some of the traumas that you dealt with, and eventually what led you to becoming this powerhouse mental health advocate, entrepreneur, life coach, all of these things.
Whew, my story. First, I really didn't feel like it had as much oomph or impact, and there was no reason to talk about anything because there were people who went through worse. However, I probably had trauma before the age of 3, but I didn't really realize it until after what I'm going through. But definitely 3 years old, between about 3 to 5, I unfortunately was the victim of childhood molestation by more than one person and one person of the same sex. And that made me feel ashamed because I knew how the community felt about that. Even though I was a baby, like, what do I know? I took a lot of burden on myself because kids know more than people realize. Not only that, I grew up in a household with, I feel like maybe my mom had some unhealed stuff. I just can't pinpoint her stuff, but I know she has a bad picker, as my daughter says. So the people that she has relationships with, just really bad choices. And the stepfather that I grew up with, he had childhood trauma. He lost his mom at the age of 3. He was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at a young age, but also he was a wartime veteran. But I never heard the term PTSD. I never heard the word psychiatrist unless it was maybe some little blurb in a school book or something like that. I never heard triggers and coping and anything like that. They basically told us to be quiet and go sit down somewhere in a corner.
Yep. Be seen and not heard. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so The first time I could remember that there was a big impact on me while I was younger. Some people don't know this about me that know me now, but I was a straight A student. I was in top of my class. I won a full ride at the local university, and I was not athletic. I did not take it. I went to the Army. And I didn't realize till later that was my way of running away because I could disconnect from those people in that household. But that didn't solve my problems because, the military has some issues of its own, including the PTSD or the MST. So people are facing traumas. And again, I never heard anybody say, you need to see a therapist. What made you make this decision versus that decision? Nobody ever questioned anything, and I didn't. And I realized I really feel like I was on autopilot. So I was just doing things that seemed like it was okay with everybody else, but I never thought about who I really was and what I really wanted.
Mm. So this was from childhood up until your 20s, or like when and what was the pivotal moment for you that you realized I need fucking help?
Believe it or not until the age of 45.
Wow. I hear that a lot. I really do. I hear that a lot. So it's not shocking to hear, but I'm curious to hear what that would look like for you.
Yeah, and that's another thing. A lot of people think, oh, you're over it by now. I had a family. I was honorably discharged. I used my GI Bill to become a nurse, but I was not okay. And then unfortunately, my marriage broke up because of substance abuse, because he had his own things he was dealing with. See, I was an isolator. I'm an isolator. I shrink. I call myself a master suppressor. I know how to shut it down. I will zone out like that.
Me too. I'm the same way.
Yeah, and everybody shows their triggers in different ways, and that's what's confusing to some people because they think everybody should react the same. So my marriage was breaking up. I really didn't know what to do with myself. Even though I had one child left in her last year of high school, I still went to go do travel nursing, made sure she had her needs met when it came to the basics, but I wasn't there. But I wasn't there anyway. I thought I was there. And having children was for me, that's the only thing that I knew that I wanted. But now I look back on it, I wasn't in any shape to really pour into my children like I really wanted to. So around Veterans Day weekend 2012, I'm really not settled because I don't have a home. My kids in college, she's got a roof over her head. My other kids have roofs over their head, but I was kind of transient at the time. And with everything that was going on, I stopped eating. I stopped showering. I stopped doing my hair. And I remember just crying, just like, that heavy rain. It was just, I couldn't get myself together. But something in me made me reach out to the Veterans Crisis Hotline. But the thing is, I'm kind of glad that I'm living in a day and age that I am because I didn't want to hear my voice and I didn't want to hear the person who answered that call's voice. At first, we communicated through text, and that was perfect for me because I didn't have to hear myself say the words out loud. I didn't want to hear. I didn't want to hear what they said. And then eventually we got to the point where the person on the line said, is it okay for me to call you? And so we had a plan of me being picked up and taken to the hospital to be seen. I arrived at the VA hospital here in my area in Georgia, and the inn was full. So they had to ship me out. What I didn't know, when they shipped me out, they didn't consider me. I signed paperwork where I wasn't considered voluntary. That I don't like that. So I wasn't considered voluntary. So I was under, here in Georgia, they call it a 1013, where you're involuntarily taken into custody in the mental health hospital. It's a very interesting story, boy, I tell you. So I had to get picked up not by an ambulance, not by people who were familiar with mental health, but a police officer. Never been in a squad car in my life. And I was like, whoa, it's tight back here. I was like, how the world people move their legs at all? I was like,
Mhm.
what in the world? I'm sitting there. Remember, I'm a master suppressor. I'm sitting back like this. I'm watching where he's going, and I'm like, why is he taking so long? Like, I know where he's going. Why is he going all over the world just to get to this place, which is a straighter shot? I kid you not, that officer was on a personal phone call, and I was like, I am sad. I am not stupid. And he was on a personal phone call with someone that he had been dating who was making his life miserable, apparently. I'm sitting in the back of that car and I'm thinking, he needs anger management. Something's wrong with this person. So I go into the hospital, I get transferred, and I finally hear the words major depressive disorder. And I finally hear the words triggers. I finally hear the words trauma and coping. And I'm like, wow, all this time, this is what was wrong with me. Or this is what some people thought they saw, but they couldn't put their finger on it, but they didn't address me. They talked about me to other people. That's another kicker. Because if you think about it, people of color don't talk to each other in conversation. They talk about each other, like that's going to help. Or they talk at that person without trying to get to the nitty gritty. What's the cause? We see the effect. What's the cause?
Right. Where is this pain coming from?
Right. And another thing we do is we find out something's not quite right with somebody and we say, oh, they're just putting on. Oh, they can help it. Oh, that's no excuse. Nobody said it's an excuse, but if we go ahead and we figure how to get to people to heal them, then we don't have to keep seeing time and time again people taking each other out, people taking themselves out. We got to figure out what is the cause. And I found out my cause has a name. I found out my youngest child, actually, she introduced me to the idea of childhood trauma, which is called ACE, Adverse Childhood Experience. And between the ages of 0 to 17, then you are so affected, it can mess you up for the rest of your life, including chronic health issues, the ones that we think that, oh, we're predisposed because of our biological genetics. And some of it is our mental experiences.
I feel like a lot of it is because of that, but people don't want to have that conversation because it's uncomfortable, because it's taboo, because it's asking those questions of having you to really sit in your shit and do that inner shadow work that a lot of us talk about. First of all, I just want to say I appreciate you for sharing and going as deep as you did because you didn't need to. Again, this is you and your story, but I really just appreciate you painting the picture because I know at least one person who's listening or watching is going to see themselves in your story. So thank you for that. Now, mental health, depression, anxiety, PTSD, all of these really heavy things, that's something, especially if you're diagnosed professionally, which you should be. What was it for you after getting that diagnosis that really has helped you manage? Because this is a lifelong thing that you're going to deal with. You can't just like take a magic pill and the childhood trauma that you experience is going to just disappear. That's not how life works. I wish it was, but that doesn't exist. So share some things that helped you navigate your own mental health journey that you could recommend maybe to a listener who's on their own journey. What are some things that have helped you out?
It took a little while, and I don't know at what moment I made this connection or I put certain pieces of the puzzle together. But for me, what's been helping me so major, because remember, I said it's almost 12 years in November around Veterans Day, right? And I have not been back to a hospital. Have I been depressed? Yes. But now I am proactive instead of reactive, at least most of the time. So, what I found for me is to actually become more self aware. I say top three, you might have more, but usually three is a good number. My top three triggers and where did they originate from is really big. Because, like, say, for instance, remember I said I grew up in an abusive household? Well, I watched my mom get beat like she was a man out on the street being bullied. And I don't care if you're passive aggressive or loud. I do not like being bullied. It will make me shut down on you. Don't be loud with me. Don't belittle me. Do all that little stuff that they say stays in school with bullies. And we know that there are adult bullies out here. Sometimes it's the traumatized child turned bully. Sometimes it's the bully that's still doing the same thing. So that's one of my triggers as far as being bullied. Also, another trigger for me is feeling abandonment or rejection, and that has to do with my lack of relationship with my biological father, and then feeling overwhelmed. And when I recognize that about myself, about my triggers, and about their origin, somehow it helped me pick out the right coping skills for Demetria, because it's not all equal. It's not all one size fits all. So certain things work for me, and I can usually recognize that trigger before things are fired. When things are happening, then I recognize it sooner and I take care of myself quicker. I make sure that I get some peace. I take some time or go do some breaths or take walks. But I have to know for me what works. And another thing about that is the things don't work all the time. And sometimes you need more than one. So don't give up. You might not want baked chicken, you want fried chicken. So isn't that a different recipe, but it's still chicken?
Absolutely. When it comes to the personal development, mental health journey, like you said, it's not one size fits all. And what works for you may not work for me, but may work for someone else. And it's important for you to actively participate in your own healing. I think that's super important. The self awareness, like you said, that's a huge thing that I stand on because when I was aware that I was sick and tired of my own shit and I was sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, that's when the change started to happen, but I had to get myself there. Yes, outside circumstances brought me to my rock bottom moments, but it was me. It was me who decided I'm fucking tired. I don't want to feel this way anymore. So let me do something different. And just to piggyback off of what you said, I think it's super important, like what you did. You spoke up and you asked for help. And I think that is so powerful. Like we said before we started recording, using your voice is such a powerful tool that all of us have. No matter what your trauma looks like, no matter what it is that you experience, you have the ability to make the change by just speaking up and saying, I'm not fucking okay. And that's okay. It's not a weakness. It's not what are people going to say? What are people going to think? Fuck all that. The only person that you need to worry about is you. And if you're not good and you need help, that is a major first step that anyone can take by just saying, I need some assistance because I cannot take this burden on by myself anymore. So shout out to us for doing that.
Yes, exactly. And we're the MVPs of our own lives. We're our own coaches. Yeah, you can get some outside help with the coaching, right? There's an assistant coach. I'm an assistant coach. You are the one that's the main person on the team that's going to get things rocking.
Yeah. You're the quarterback of your own life.
you know?
Yes.
And so we need to recognize that and we need to realize that we do have it in us. As long as you're still breathing, you're not 6 feet under, there is hope. 42 freaking years before I even came to the point where I was like, I'm sick of this planet. I'm sick of the evil people. I'm sick of all these horrible circumstances. I'm ready to go. And I didn't even think about my kids. And one thing I wanted to say is your pain, you're taking it away, but you're not taking it away. And when I say that, I mean the pain that you suffered where you might be successful at taking yourself out, you have now transferred it to the loved ones and associates that are left behind. So it keeps going. That
Generational trauma.
generational trauma,
Yep.
that generational curse, and we need to start having a legacy of healing, because if I plot my family tree down and look at all the messed up stuff that happened, and in the military they say shit rolls downhill. That means when they're saying that, they're saying it just keep collecting.
Bigger
It
and
just
bigger. Yep. Absolutely.
we got to stop. We got to stop.
Yes, and you are the one who is breaking the cycle of your lineage, right? And you're passing that down to your children and their children, and that is how you break the cycle. Someone has to do it. It's you who decided to do it. So shout out to you, giving you your flowers. And now you are out here helping your community, which I think is so beautiful. I want to see more of people who look like us in these mental health spaces, because it's very unseasoned, if you will. If you know, you know what I'm talking about. But I would love for you to talk a little bit about your coaching, Black Butterfly Queens Life Coaching. I love that. First of all, is that trademarked? Because that's amazing.
I need
Yes.
but I love butterflies, and it really makes sense because transformation,
Yes.
that's me.
Listen, let me show you before you get started. Let me show you. This is my brand new tattoo that I got. A
Oh wow.
cocoon opening out into a butterfly. And
Oh, you gonna have to take a picture of yourself with that
yes,
one. I love it.
so I get it.
And so you know what I mean, because some of us were in the cocoon, right? Us isolators. And they say you already know from you having that, it's very painful to go through the transition of going from caterpillar to butterfly. People don't realize the breakdown. Ooh, that's a word, right?
Yes.
That is so on point. A lot of times you're going through pain, but that doesn't mean that you won't be better after you get through this stuff. When you start that transformation and you feel like you're at your lowest, just hold on for a little bit. Baby, there are some things happening in my life right now. I'm like, oh, wait a minute now. I'm like, a girl is on a billboard on a major highway right now. And I was like, how did I get here? I've been like on the verge of tears, but not crying lately, because I think about what I wanted to do to myself, and now what's happening. And it's not to show off, but to show people. I told a patient recently, I said, I'm showing you that there's hope. You don't have to say things will never get better, and you don't have to feel alone, because the studies they've done, especially about childhood trauma, well, any trauma, support is really, really important and big. So, my life coaching business, which I really consider a life health and wellness coaching with a trauma recovery focus, and because you're not just a mind, you're not just a limb, you're not just an arm or a leg, you're a whole person. Your whole person matters. And when people go through trauma, there are several parts of wellness that are all jacked up, a little chip here, a little break there. So you need somebody who, and I do consider myself an empath. I don't have to go through your pain to get it and to validate. I had to go through exactly what you went through to be like, oh my goodness, wait a minute now. And to see your gifts and the potential in you.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And I think that's such a beautiful aspect that a lot of coaches should have, that lived experience and being able to work with clients who see themselves in you and see the potential of what could be. So shout out to you for the work that you're doing. I absolutely love that. We're going to link all her info in the show notes if you guys want to check her out and possibly work with her. So you've been on your journey, and I know, speaking from my own experience, it is not rainbows and butterflies and zen and, it's not. This healing journey, I say this shit all the time on my podcast, it's very fucking ghetto. And if I could avoid it, I would. But it's going through the hard moments, the dark moments, the sad moments that has created the woman that I am. So I would love to know if you have faced any challenges on your own healing journey. And if so, how have you been able to turn those challenges into opportunities of growth and empowerment?
Most definitely, I still have my struggles because of me, but I also have my struggles when it comes to, say, relationships, and not just say romantic, but also with those kids that I wanted so desperately. One thing I do pride myself in, like you said, I am someone who speaks up about therapy and they believe in it. Yay.
Yes.
They've heard it, they believe in it, they do what they can to help themselves using not just themselves or mommy, but somebody else to help. But some other struggles, whoo, I struggle with money. And it's not even that reckless per se, it's that I value other people's needs more than me. So I'll put myself on the burner like I don't have bills. It'd be like, oh my God, they need to eat.
It's that empath and that people pleasing, you know?
Girl, I'm like, "Oh my god, I gotta get some balance."
Yeah.
And I love to work, but I've found that there's a lot of toxicity in a lot of these workplaces because they lack trauma-informed care, and that's something else we need to deal with. We need to deal with when we deal with people, act as if everybody has trauma. Maybe you'll actually talk to them like you got some sense and stop. Like they talk about Karens, we got Karens and Keishas, and we got all kind of people acting a damn fool,
Yep.
making somebody miserable because they are miserable. Why we keep doing this? Like,
There's a
there's
lot of broken, unhealed,
yes,
unwell people in this world who aren't willing to do the work, who aren't willing to face the challenges because they're both hard, right? And it's like that cliche saying, like, choose your hard. You rather want to continue your life being fucking miserable and soul sucking and this negative energy that's just portraying to everyone who comes into contact with you? Or do you want to face your shit, heal through that shit, and then you can become a beacon of light to others to be like, holy shit, she's gone through some shit, but look at her now. Or it's not fucking easy.
it feels so much better. That reminds me of something I used to say to my kids. Listen to what they had about teachers or other students. And I wasn't always going to go with the teacher. But if there was a situation where it kept happening and you kept popping up in this situation, I'm like, you're the common denominator, honey.
Yeah.
Like, damn, like, don't it sound like you need to get your shit together? Why you keep having the same problem?
Oh my God. I'm laughing because I said that to myself. Like, it took for me being in my last relationship that was abusive, that he almost killed me, that I had that aha moment that, like, I'm in all these toxic relationships, same man, but a different body. But what's the common denominator in every single one? This girl right here, right? So that's why I'm like, oh my God, that's so true. But it's uncomfortable to
And
come to that
not only that, I bet you can pick out some of their trauma.
now.
I
Now I can.
feel like for my ex-husband, we trauma bonded. He went through some shit, I went through some shit, and we never healed, and that's why we didn't make it.
Absolutely.
And I've done over almost 23 years of nursing, but most of it has been in like family-centered care. The thing is, I just started doing psychiatric nursing right around the time of the pandemic. I was like, this should be a happy place where I am, but I feel like I'm not feeling good. Like it was toxic. So I'm getting experience as a psych nurse on the other side so I can help more. And I realized that some people are getting in relationships with the person who they're taking their medication. They have maybe had a little trip, a little vacation that you don't know about, gotten stable. Now that person who is in the middle of a healing journey and process, and they never divulge to you that part of them, and they stop taking it, and that makes people worse. Actually, how some people say, I don't understand what happened, they were so wonderful, we had
Mm-hmm.
such a great relationship. Girl, some of the people on their medication, or they seeing a therapist or something.
Girl, listen, that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But no, I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you so much. I love this conversation so much. And I really just want to leave people with this final question based on everything that you've gone through. And there's a lot of things that we have not talked about, but what would be one piece of advice based on everything that you've experienced that you would tell someone right now who is currently on their journey of navigating through their trauma or their mental health struggles? What's one piece of advice you would tell them?
Realize that you have strength, inner strength, and you admitting and wanting to take care of it instead of doing like people in your past or how you think others will perceive you, focusing on that. You are so strong. That's what a doctor told me one time. He was like, considering what you've been through, you are very strong. Don't forget that. You can do it. I'm no better than anybody else. But I finally looked at myself more clearly. See, I had a blurry view, but I wiped that mirror and I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm liking the fact that I'm finally getting to know me. You can do it. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. Don't let anybody try to deflect or whatever, put you down or anything like that, because your journey is your journey.
Period. And you are the author of your own story, and you have the ability at any point in your life to write a new story. And you are the epitome of someone who made the decision to rewrite their own story. So, shout out to you. Me as well. Like, we are both two testimonies for people who are tuning in. We've gone through some shit. We've seen some shit. Some shit tried to break us, but look at us now. And if we are doing it, because this is a never ending journey, you can too. So, Demetria, I want to say thank you so much. I want you to plug in how we can follow you, your books, what you're working on, anything that you got going on, social media, website, all of that, and anything else you want to leave the people with.
Well, there's a lot going on. There's some tough stuff, but there's some amazing stuff. I'm on the cover of a magazine. You can get it digitally now, called Southern Crescent Women in Business. And the winter 2024 cover, I'm one of the women in business on the cover.
Yes, congratulations.
And one of the photo shoots, parts of the photo shoot that we did for that, is what you'll find on that billboard in Georgia on I-75 South,
Yes.
where there's a lot of traffic. Also doing a lot of interviews and stuff like that, because I'm going to talk. I was so quiet and so shut down before. I'm not doing that anymore. And I have a 4 fictional series coming out. And it started with one story and I ended up making 4. I'm a season kind of girl. The original one is Winter Storm. That is the main character, Winter. And that story is connected to my story of going into the hospital because they thought my first name was Winter. And I didn't pick up on it because I was from the military and they always called us by our last name. So I didn't pick up on it at first. And I was like, I think I'm going to turn that into a story of somebody facing something. And her sister, twin sister, Summer's solstice is her story, as well as her battle named Autumn and the twins' cousin named April. And there's 4 different situations that it's the straw that brought the camel's back. So I'm finally gonna bring that out. Found me a publisher and everything. Look out for that. I just did a brunch series by Tina Bridges, she actually does a play for males that's unscripted called Shell of a Man. and they kind of go through their trauma stories acted out for that play, and she has a brunch for women to tell their stories, and I just took part in that as well. And I'll be on Women Live TV. You can get that on Amazon. I've gotten a chance to sit on a couch by myself and get interviewed. Going through all these things and paying attention to the political climate, what they're doing. We have a new law in Georgia for mental health parity because insurance companies do not treat medical and mental the same, which is a shame because didn't we just say that a lot of people's mental affects their physical, including cancer, diabetes, hypertension, behaviors, substance abuse, can't keep a job, have problems with being, educating themselves. It just across the board. So come on, bosses, let's do some trauma informed care. If you really want your workers to work at their best, then we got to go ahead and help them become their best. So those are some of the things I'm doing. And I have a calendar coming for 2025 that has some of the shots of the different characters that are not the book cover. So just a lot of different projects because, and I do plan on bringing out a health and wellness journey so you can look at the whole you and kind of take stock and really kind of keep up. People, it's so easy to lose track of what your doctor says, but you might not have the same doctor. You still need that information about yourself. You still need to have a little understanding about that and how all of it's connecting when you're having issues, including obesity and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm. She is booked and busy, y'all. We will definitely leave all her info in the show notes so you guys can check her out and follow along with her journey. Again, Demetria, this is our first time connecting face to face, having a conversation. And I just want to say it's been a pleasure to get to know you and your story a little bit more. And please continue serving the community and helping others by also helping yourself just by using your voice and speaking your truth. You are out here changing lives one conversation at a time, and I appreciate you so much for being here. So thank you.
Thank you.